no problem with these.
Okay.
Alrighty, so I guess we'll get started. So hi guys, I'm Stephanie Montes and I am a fashion and beauty editor, and I also am the founder of New, which is a body inclusive and shade inclusive breast tape. So this is our little box, comes in 3 shades. It's basically, you know, the boob tape or the duct tape hack where people like duct tape their boobs. You don't have to do that anymore because we have a latex free, easy to remove tape.
Amazing.
So you can find us on thebrandnew.com. And if everybody else wants to do a little introduction, we can do that and then get into some really juicy questions. Let's start with Vincent.
Hi, my name is Vincent Oquindo, makeup artist. I'm based in New York City, and what to say? I've been doing this a long time. I started at a makeup counter at Saks Fifth Avenue, and then the rest is the writing's on the wall. And I'm really flattered to be on this panel with all these lovely individuals, and thank you so much for having me.
Hey. All righty, up next is Riley.
Hi, I'm Riley Blanks. I am a communication artist based in photography, performance, and writing. I have a brand called Woke Beauty. It's a storytelling platform that provides therapeutic photography, storytelling education, and community gatherings usually. I just started a podcast to kind of transfer that online. So I'm super happy to be here. Thank you for having me. You're all beautiful, and I can't wait to hear your perspective on this compelling topic.
Everybody in here is so gorgeous. Alrighty, next up is Tasha.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Tasha Brown, and I am a Los Angeles-based makeup artist, and I'm really excited to hear the different perspectives of this amazing group of people. So thank you again for having me.
We have Georgie.
Hi, I'm Joelle. I am originally from Australia, but I've lived in LA for 13 and a half. So yeah, I'm super excited to be a part of this fight to do it and what everyone's saying. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, one more. If you can introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Amber Amos. I'm a makeup artist slash groomer out of LA, originally from Chicago. And yeah, I'm excited to be here too, but I was late because I'm at work. So if I have to this is why I disappear, sorry.
Working artist. All right, well, I'm just got some questions. Free to answer as you feel inspired. So number one, so we've all heard horror stories about models showing up to set, makeup artists, their shade, their makeup, or don't know how to do their hair. I feel like at this point there should be an understanding on how to do makeup and hair on women of color. How is this not something that's trained in school, or is it?
I don't feel like it's something that's trained in school. I feel like it is a special day that's an add-on. It's like a one-day course that they will use to supplement the regular curriculum, and I feel like the regular curriculum is very white-centric. So it's not, you don't learn the hair, you don't learn how to do darker skin, but at a certain point, education is on you. It's up to you. There's so many resources. There's so many ways that you can get this information. So it's up to you to, if you want to call yourself a makeup artist and you want to be able to do any job, then you need to seek out this education on your own and make sure that you're competent for the jobs that you're being hired for. Because if you're not competent for the jobs you're being hired for, it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to your artistry. It's disrespectful to the person who sits down in your chair who you can't service, and you're making them uncomfortable. You're not going to make them look their best. And that's why we have these horror stories, because they are horror stories. These people that are sitting in the chair and you don't have their foundation, you can't do their hair, that's not a good day for them. They remember it because you're calling attention to them as being other. And I've said it like 1,000 times, like if you, it's a little bit of trauma and you're passing on trauma and you're making people feel uncomfortable because you're uneducated. So it all loops back into it's your responsibility to, whether the school you go to or whether they're offering it or not, you need to seek out this knowledge on your own and make sure you show up to your jobs prepared.
I also feel like it's a bit like egocentric, like societally and individually. I've been a model myself on many shoots where like I have a yellower tone, so they just apply yellow, like a yellower foundation, or like bright orange blush because I'm a golden child or whatever, and it just only enhances the undertone, right? Not a makeup artist, that might be the wrong vernacular, but on the receiving end, like so frustrating. I've had people take a brush and like, you know, brush my hair. I'm like, do you have any idea how long I spent trying to get these curls? But I feel like there is this like egocentric mentality, like, well, I've never had hair like yours. I've never had skin like yours, so I don't know how to do it. So like they lean on ignorance, right, as an excuse. Whereas I do feel like what you're saying, like it's really about education and it's about enlightening yourself. At the end of the day, like there's so many different shades. I feel like, you know, oftentimes when people are referring, especially to Black people, it's like we're all Black, but it's not true. Like there's so many different shades and tones happening. As a photographer, I know that when I edit, which I think is a form of makeup, I really have to pay attention to like magenta versus yellow versus green. And so, so yeah, I feel like it should be approached as more of a science, and less of a like, I don't know, surface level, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to experiment, you know? This is not school. This is not third grade, right?
I mean, I remember when I first moved here, I had not worked with many Black women at all. And coming from Australia, I wasn't taught either, but I taught myself, and I knew color and I studied color and undertones and all sorts of things so I had the skills. And when I moved here, I worked with a lot of Black women when I first moved here, and I was confident because I'm confident as a makeup artist and in the work that I'd done myself, but I was never taught, you know? And I feel like now, you know, I have clients, if I have new clients, I remember the first time I ever worked with Naomi Campbell, she came to me with all of these colors. And I was like, it made me sad because, you know, I never want someone to come to me and feel, oh God, is she going to get it right? Or does she know what she's like? Does she know what she's doing? And she came to me and I was like, I have you, like, don't worry. I know I can do this. You don't have to worry. I'm a makeup artist. And she was like, I know, but you know, it's just a force of habit. And it made me really sad. And I found that a lot of the time, you know, my girls come to me with a foundation when they're a new client, and that makes me sad. It shouldn't be like that. You know, I don't have my other clients when they're new come to me with their, you know, porcelain foundation or their tan or their caramel or whatever it is. It's just, you know, it makes me sad. And I feel like, you know, I taught makeup for a long time in Australia as well. And I made a really good point of teaching undertones and teaching, you know, like just trying to expand people's, what's the word I'm looking for? I want people to practice, you know, and if you don't have if you're in a group where you're studying and you don't have the diversity, you've got friends. So go out, practice on your friends, work at a counter, you know, Vincent, you did, I did as well. That is the best place to be able to practice. You know, you get everybody in to see you. That's your time to learn. You know, if you want to be a makeup artist, you have to be able to do every different skin tone there is. You can't say like, I'm a makeup artist, but I don't work with people that have acne. You know, you can't, it's just, skin has to be dealt with, and it has to be dealt with by, like, everybody has to deal with it the same. There can't be this, it's hard to explain, but you can't specialize in one thing and not the other. And I just feel like it's so important that people educate themselves and that they can bring that confidence to the table and that they know what they're talking about, so that anyone that's sitting in your chair is comfortable. You know, that's the most important thing for me, is you have to make your client comfortable, and they have to feel good with you, and they shouldn't feel any other way. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
We're rambling.
No,
No.
I
But
will
also,
add-
sorry, one other thing, we're taught by our clients as well. Like some of the things that I learned from Naomi that first day, I have taken with me forever on everybody, you know, and that's your greatest education as well. Your clients are the ones who educate you too, because we know ourselves better than anyone. So when someone's sitting in our chair and they tell us, my eyeliner looks great when you do it like this or like this, I'm listening. You should always be listening as a makeup artist, no matter how experienced you are. Always listen, I think.
Yeah, I love that. For me, I absolutely love that, because that's how I learned how to do every kind of skin tone. So being Puerto Rican, I grew up, I'm the fairest one in my family, and all my sisters and all of my nieces and nephews are darker skinned, and my nephews and my nieces are deep dark. You know, they're like some of the deepest shades of the Bobby Brown complexion realm, and that was what I grew up sort of seeing. So that was my normal. So when I would go to makeup shop, and even like when I first started doing makeup, when I would start makeup shopping, I didn't find my color. Like I couldn't even find my color. And like foundations were made when I was starting makeup, which was now 18 years ago. It was for white girls with tans. And so the undertones wouldn't match. And even though it seemed at the surface level like it worked, it didn't really work. And I think what happens is a lot of people also don't really want to look for the makeup, the colors to work in their kit, because we all know sometimes you can have the color on the surface level, but you put it on the skin and it oxidizes, and it is very wrong. And I think it just is the time and care that you put into your craft and your willingness to listen to the person that's sitting in your chair. So it boils down to how you approach your business. For me, it's how I approach my business. What kind of imprint do I want to leave out there? And for me, it's a collaboration when someone's sitting in my chair, whether they're a model, whether they're an actress, whether they're a singer, it's collaborative. It's not my show, what I want to do. And if you truly want to be collaborative, you are exchanging with the client. It's not, I'm not dictating to them. And that boils to me down to respect. So I'm going to just rewind and streamline everything. I think it boils down to, there was limited availability in terms of color for a long time. And that's where the problem started. So I think people just got pigeonholed into thinking, well, it's too hard to find colors, so I'm not going to focus on that. But it's like, as a makeup artist, it's our job to find the stuff and to figure out the stuff, because that's what we're getting paid the big bucks for. You know, we're getting paid the big bucks because we figure it out. We're the experts. So if you're the expert, truly own your craft and and find the person that's that color and listen to what they have to say. And you might think you're a good makeup artist with brown skin, but when you start working with brown skin, it might not look the way you thought it would look. So the only way you get good is by practicing. And for me, I had to do that with pale complexion. I had to do that with porcelain girls. And I took the time and I logged the hours. And I've seen porcelain complexions look terrible and ashy. Terrible. Like the neck don't match and the chest doesn't match. And like you can mess up any skin tone. So you got to log the hours and get it right. And the only way, for me, the only way you do that is through practice. And and I'm no one to yuck anybody's young. And if it's through a makeup counter with your friends, I started in my college dorm with all the girls and the guys on my floor. I was like, look, I got to do some makeup, so we're gonna practice. So, well, I'm gonna pass on that.
Oh, I can only
I think they
that in your
summed it all up.
option.
Oh, I was just saying, I think they all pretty much summed it up, but it definitely goes back to like makeup school. I went to makeup school and I was the darkest person in my class. So when it came to doing foundation and skin, everyone else in the class would pile on to me. So they wanted to practice doing darker skin, which if you can, I'm like a half a shade lighter than Georgie. I mean, darker than Georgie. Like I'm not, in the scheme of things, I'm not dark at all. Like to the point where when I finished makeup school, I went to do my own sister's makeup because I am also the lightest person in my family and I couldn't. Like I had to relearn how to do Black people's makeup.
Wow.
So I think it just goes back to reteaching and taking your craft seriously, because outside of the breakdown that I had at that moment, like that I couldn't do my own people's skin, like I had a mental breakdown. But after that, I was like, this will never happen again. And so I had to go the extra mile to find the brands that have shades for us. Because when I was in makeup school, they taught us how to mix foundation and undercolors, undertones, because it was 10, 11 years ago. So at that point, like we didn't have the range that we have now. And you literally had to like mix things up. You had, like, my sisters have 4 different foundations to make one color. But it just goes back to like educating yourself, taking it seriously, and not being lazy. I think it's kind of a cop out, and it's very lazy to just be like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Like I've been on sets where someone will look at me and will like look at the Black person and be like if it's a team effort, and they're like, well, you want to do her? And it's like, what? Because you don't know how? Like, I have to know how to do everyone's makeup. I cannot show up on set and make someone Naomi Campbell's color and she's not their color. Like, I will be looked at crazy. So I think it's crazy that other artists that are not Black or brown are allowed to, or it's okay for them to be able to just pass it off, or to hire an assistant that can do that work for them. So it's taking your craft seriously and going the extra mile.
I don't feel like you should be able to call yourself a professional makeup artist if you have exceptions. Like, I can do all of that, but like you have to do everything. If you want to be a makeup artist, you have to do all skin, all types of skin, all textures, all colors. It's just that's what being an artist is, Yeah.
I agree. I second that. I think, you know what? You don't have a problem accepting that check, so you better know how to.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, that's what I don't. If you can't do the work, don't take the job, because it's your business. That comes back around, and it's the image you have of yourself as an artist. You keep taking jobs, like Vincent said, for the check, but you're not actually producing good work. But I am hopeful for the future of this new artists that are coming up, because like Vincent said, we didn't have our tools when we first started. We were cherry picking and finding and going on a great hunt. But now the options are growing, and also the education is everywhere now. I see there's so many great YouTube girls that are doing great, just tutorials, just even the basics that a lot of people before we're going to school didn't even get. So that does make me hopeful for the new crop of artists coming up, because there's no excuses now. You have the tools, you have a wall of education you can tap into. Well, that's what I feel like.
That's a good segue into what my next question was. I feel like most of you kind of answered it, but I kind of feel like school, whether it's makeup school, fashion school, law school, there are so many things that you can learn in school, but there are things that you learn in the field that you can only learn by being in the field and by working. So if there are certain skills that are not taught in the classroom, what is the best way for the next generation to learn? So you said, we talked about maybe looking at YouTube. There's so many online resources, practicing, calling your friends. Are there any other very specific things that you can do to really educate yourself outside of the classroom?
I think looking at a makeup.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, my grandma always says, child, if you don't know it, Google it. The internet is our oyster. Like, there's too much information out there to have an excuse. The other day, this girl texted me for a shoot that I was in, and she was like, I don't really know about afros, and so I don't know if you can pin it back or what you can do with it, how you can style it. I looked on Pinterest, but I just wanted to ask you because I don't know. And it's like, yeah, you can go find those answers. You don't need to rely on me. And that kind of goes to Tasha's point. Like, I think when it comes to education, you don't need to rely on us to educate you. Like, you can go figure out those answers for yourself. And it's just not that hard. Like, we live in too broad of a world, right? So I don't know. I'm with you on the YouTube and the Google.
But I will say, so I'm saying, like, really find this information. It's out there, it's on YouTube with the products, etc. Don't go to work and do that. Don't trial and error with the people sitting in front of your chair. I mean, practice and do all that before you actually get to work. You're trial and error on them.
Yeah.
But you could, until you perfect your craft, you're going to cause a lot of damage and a lot of things along the way that are so negative. Get perfect and then share your art with the person in your chair.
I've been there before where I was with an actress and she had hair like you, Riley, and she had just gorgeous hair, and the hairdresser just went in there with the flat iron, and he took that comb, and we heard that sizzle, and ma'am, when I said she jumped out of that chair like she was a squirrel on fire, she jumped out of that chair, and I was like, oh honey, because her and I were talking and we were working in, and he nailed her, and she was just like, she came out of her skin, but those are the kind of situations that you want to avoid as an artist. So if you're an artist, whether you're a hair artist or a makeup artist, you don't ever want to put your client in that position, because no one wants to feel that way. No one wants to feel like
it's a breach of trust. Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to ask permission. You have to, like, and now with COVID, it's a whole other beast. Like, you got to ask permission before you touch someone, I have another really funny story. I was doing a job with Gigi Hadid, and we were joking around, and I was like, Gigi, why don't you do this side of the makeup? And when she went to go touch the model's face, she asked permission. She goes, may I touch you here? May I touch you here? And I just I was blown away by that, because I was like, that's so, and of course I asked permission, but she was really careful and gentle, and it just made me check myself. I'm like, I need to start asking permission when I touching different parts of the face, and it now with the modern age, the way we are, that's going to be a whole new world of artistry, like asking permission to touch every single, and checking in and making sure that they're good, and and I think that's, if you understand that, then you understand all of it,
And I would just say, you could get education outside of school and all that by working at a makeup counter, like they mentioned. Like, that's where I got some of the best. I could have saved that money that I spent at makeup school and just went straight to work in retail, honestly. And also assisting. I think people don't assist anymore. I don't know, maybe Instagram and things like that have made it where, like, you think you just immediately start working with Beyonce, but assisting you'll be able to like get those kinks out, and also learn things from the artist. That's actually the key, that you won't even have to make those mistakes on your own. Like, you'll already have a solution to it because you've seen this person do this.
Jack, Vincent, you mentioned in the beginning that, originally it came down to a lack of, resources. There weren't makeup in different shades. And although I do feel that the industry is coming along and being more inclusive, there is a long way for us to go. How do we as consumers, in your professional opinion, let companies know and demand a fuller range of products of skin tones and hair types?
I think right now people are fed up with it, and they're calling brands out. Like, they're like, oh no, honey, you don't have every shade, you're canceled. And I think that's important. I think let the brands know. Now with social media, it's not like it was even in the early 2000s, back in the Stone Age with the dinosaurs. We literally we have a direct line to these brands. So we can say, hey, this is not cool. You need to have an expanded shade range. And by principle, I've always not carried a foundation if it didn't have a shade for every single one of my clients. I'm not about to cherry pick, like, oh, I have this one that, that I have like 4 shades, and then I have this one for my dark skin. And no, because if I'm doing a runway show and I have 10 girls to do, I need that skin to match. So out of principle, I'm not going to carry it. And so speak up to the brands, because we have a direct line with social media now. That would be my recommendation.
Yes.
Same. I always say, like, there's so many ways to protest, you know, and like a great form is to write a company a letter and be like, this is not okay. Not that that's our responsibility, but if you're passionate about it, like, make your voice visible. I think, you know, yeah, I think that's so important, that kind of communication aspect. So just adding adjunct to what you said.
I want to
yeah,
see the clean beauty industry expand a bit faster.
Yeah.
You know, the big companies are doing a lot better, but the clean beauty need to expand, in my opinion, quite quickly.
Yeah, and I would say, just to piggyback off of what Vincent said, I do the same thing. Like, if I'm the darkest shade that a brand covers, you're not gonna hear me talk about it, and I'm not gonna use it. Like, because it's not about me. I fit into most lines. I might be the deepest shade in some of them, but I fit into most of them.
Yeah.
But like, it's not about me. Like, it's about like the people that are like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shades darker than me, that have no options, or that are being told, oh, your skin's so beautiful, you don't need makeup. Because that also makes my job harder when I have to like tell some man that, no, actually someone lied to you, you do need makeup even though you're 10 shades darker than me.
Yeah.
And now that, and I think Georgie, you said that the bigger brands are becoming a little bit more aware and, you know, I mean, it's not even keeping up with the times. It's something that should have been done years and years and years and years ago. But how would any of you recommend that the smaller independent BIPOC businesses that really do cater to Black women and women of color in the hair and makeup space, how do those smaller indie brands stay competitive with these larger brands that are now offering more options?
I think that the smaller brands, if they had better representation in the larger stores, that we wouldn't have an issue of expanding your shade range being competition. Because as a consumer, as a Black woman, as a consumer, I want just as many options in Sephora as everyone else gets in Sephora. I want clean beauty, I want budget beauty, I want high-end luxury beauty. I want to have as many options as possible. So one of the things I think that is amazing is the 15% pledge that Aurora James is leading. The 15% pledge is asking companies that if you're taking, Black women spend 2 to 3 more times than their counterparts on beauty products, yet they're grossly underserved. So if you take 15% of your shelf space and you dedicate it to products and lines that are owned by people of color, so 15% of your shelf space represents 15% of, oh, I heard a little buzz. If 15% of the population, then you can begin to have some form of equality with smaller Black-owned brands going up against the larger owned brands. So things like that make me really, really hopeful, and initiatives like that actually level the playing field in cosmetics.
Yeah.
So it really does come down to the retailers and doing their part, as opposed to only, you know, brand owners, big or small.
Yeah.
It's the retailers, because if it's there, I mean, it's not a guess or an estimation. We're dealing with actual numbers here, that if it is there, Black women will purchase it. Black women are a huge buying power. Like I said, our dollars are sometimes 2 to 3 more times our counterpart. So if it's on the shelves, then you put that smaller brand in contention with a larger brand that obviously has more marketing behind it. They have more PR money behind it. So it is a large, I would say most of the onus lies on the retailer. And a lot of them have come around. Sephora, I think, just took the 15% pledge. West Elm. So it's going not only in cosmetics and beauty, but it's going beyond that. So that's interesting to watch.
Because at the end of the day, you know, consumers go to a Sephora and an Ulta for the discoverability. You know, you rely on them to do their part and do their job, and, you know, really present you with the best options. And sometimes the best options just aren't in there. So I'm putting the responsibility on the retailers as well. Okay, I have one more question. How do companies go beyond optics and incorporate Black, Indigenous, people of color into all areas of their business?
They hire more people on a corporate level. Like it has to be more than like the surface, the workers, the people in retail. Like it actually has to be VPs and executives. Otherwise, it's the same thing.
Agreed. I agree wholeheartedly. And you need to have people of color on the back end, because then then the stories are authentic. You know, the narrative is authentic.
Yeah.
And a multitude of people of color on the other end, not just one or two specialize in a certain area, because not all people of color move as a monolith. So you want different people with different experiences at different levels, but definitely in development.
Yeah. The vastness of roles, I think, is really important. Like, you know, I think oftentimes you find us like in HR. I think we should have a voice across the spectrum. That's really like the way that you integrate, you know, so.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much. I learned a lot. There was so much insight that came from all of you professional, amazing, beautiful people. So thank you so much. And thank you.
Can you guys hear that thunder? I'm sorry, it's like shaking this
Is that what that is?
house.
No.
Sorry, I didn't. I'm like,
Wow.
oh my God. I feel like I'm sorry.
If your energy runs out, it's because the thunder. There's a storm.
Sorry.
Well, this is so much fun. Thank you all for watching, and share with us on Instagram, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Nice to meet you guys.
Can I take a
Bye.
quick boomerang for my Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So annoying, right? Okay. So guys.
Oh, good.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.